What if I told you that the moment someone disrespects you is actually the moment you gain the most power? Most people think strength means fighting back. But the people who command the most respect do something completely different. Today, you'll discover 6 powerful responses that make people regret disrespecting you without yelling, arguing, or seeking revenge. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to protect your dignity and earn lasting respect in any situation. If you're finding value in these lessons, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. These insights are designed to help you build confidence, emotional strength, and personal power. Also comment boundaries if you believe self-respect starts with knowing your worth. The first response that makes people regret disrespecting you is remaining calm. At first glance, this may seem like a simple reaction, but it is actually one of the most powerful forms of emotional strength a person can possess. When someone disrespects you, they often expect an emotional response. They may expect anger, frustration, defensiveness, or even a heated argument. In many cases, the disrespect itself is designed to provoke a reaction. The moment you lose control of your emotions, the focus shifts away from their behavior and onto your reaction. This is why staying calm is such a powerful response. It prevents others from controlling your emotional state and allows you to maintain your dignity. Remaining calm does not mean you are weak, passive, or afraid to stand up for yourself. In fact, it is often the opposite. It takes far more strength to control your emotions than to release them impulsively. Anyone can react in anger, but not everyone can pause, think clearly, and respond with composure under pressure. When you remain calm, you demonstrate confidence in yourself. You show that your self-worth is not dependent on another person's opinion, words, or actions. A calm response also gives you a strategic advantage. Strong emotions can cloud judgment and lead to decisions you later regret. By staying composed, you give yourself time to assess the situation, understand the other person's intentions, and choose the most effective response. This level of control often surprises people who expected you to become upset. Instead of seeing someone who is shaken by their words, they see someone who is secure, confident, and difficult to manipulate. People naturally respect those who maintain composure during difficult moments. Calmness communicates inner stability and emotional maturity. It signals that you are in control of yourself regardless of external circumstances. Over time, this reputation becomes a source of personal power because others realize that intimidation, criticism, or disrespect cannot easily influence your behavior. When someone attempts to disrespect you and is met with calm confidence instead of emotional chaos, they often recognize that they have failed to gain control over you, and that realization alone can make them regret underestimating your strength. The second response that makes people regret disrespecting you is asking a direct question. This approach is powerful because it shifts the pressure away from you and places it back on the person who made the disrespectful comment. Many people deliver rude remarks, sarcastic insults, or passive-aggressive statements expecting their target to become emotional or defensive. They assume they will remain in control of the conversation while the other person struggles to respond. However, a simple and direct question can completely change the dynamic. When someone says something disrespectful, asking, "What do you mean by that?" forces them to explain themselves. Suddenly, they can no longer hide behind vague comments, sarcasm, or indirect criticism. They must clarify their words and reveal their true intentions. This often creates discomfort because many disrespectful remarks sound much less impressive when they have to be explained openly. What was intended as a clever insult can quickly appear rude, immature, or unreasonable once exposed to scrutiny. Direct questions also demonstrate confidence. Instead of reacting emotionally, you remain composed and seek clarification. This communicates that you are not intimidated by the comment and that you are willing to address the situation directly. People who are secure in themselves do not feel the need to argue immediately or prove their worth. They simply ask for clarity and allow the other person to reveal their own behavior. Another advantage of this response is that it gives you time to think. In moments of disrespect, emotions can rise quickly, making it easy to say something you later regret. Asking a question creates a pause in the conversation. During that pause, you regain control of your emotions and can decide how to proceed. Rather than reacting impulsively, you respond intentionally. Direct questions can also expose hidden motives. Sometimes people make disrespectful comments because they are insecure, jealous, or seeking attention. By calmly asking them to explain their statement, you encourage them to confront the reasoning behind their words. In many cases, they become uncomfortable and backtrack, soften their tone, or attempt to rephrase what they said. This response is effective because it combines confidence, emotional control, and intelligence. Instead of becoming trapped in a defensive position, you guide the conversation in a way that reveals the true nature of the disrespect. The person who expected to have power over the interaction often finds themselves explaining, justifying, or reconsidering their own behavior. The third response that makes people regret disrespecting you is setting a clear boundary. One of the main reasons disrespect continues in many relationships, workplaces, and social situations is that people often tolerate behavior they know is unacceptable. They may stay silent to avoid conflict, hope the situation improves on its own, or worry that speaking up will make things worse. Unfortunately, when disrespect goes unchallenged, it can send the message that such behavior is acceptable. This is why establishing boundaries is one of the most important acts of self-respect. A boundary is not about controlling another person's actions. It is about clearly communicating what behavior you will and will not accept. When someone speaks to you in a disrespectful manner, a calm statement such as, "I don't appreciate being spoken to that way," can be incredibly powerful. It is direct, respectful, and firm. It does not attack the other person, but it makes your position clear. You are informing them that a line has been crossed. Many people misunderstand boundaries and assume they require aggression or confrontation. In reality, the strongest boundaries are often delivered with confidence and composure. Yelling, insulting, or becoming emotional can distract from the message. A calm boundary, on the other hand, focuses attention on the behavior itself. It communicates that you respect yourself enough to address the issue without losing control. Setting boundaries also demonstrates self-confidence. People who know their value understand that respect is not something they must beg for or earn through constant approval. They recognize that healthy relationships require mutual respect. When you establish a boundary, you send a message that your dignity matters and that you expect to be treated appropriately. Boundaries can also change how others perceive and treat you. Many individuals test limits, consciously or unconsciously, to see what they can get away with. If they encounter no resistance, the behavior often continues. When they are met with a clear and confident boundary, they learn that disrespect has consequences. They realize that certain actions will not be tolerated, which often leads to greater respect in future interactions. Perhaps most importantly, boundaries protect your emotional well-being. Constantly accepting disrespect can damage confidence and create resentment over time. By addressing inappropriate behavior when it occurs, you preserve your self-respect and maintain healthier relationships. A person who consistently communicates clear boundaries becomes someone others are less likely to underestimate, manipulate, or mistreat because their standards are known and understood. The fourth response that makes people regret disrespecting you is refusing to defend yourself excessively. This may seem counterintuitive because when someone criticizes, insults, or misunderstands you, the natural instinct is often to explain yourself in great detail. Most people feel an immediate urge to prove they are right, justify their actions, or convince others that they deserve respect. While this reaction is understandable, it can sometimes weaken your position rather than strengthen it. When you over-defend yourself, you unintentionally communicate that you need the other person's approval in order to feel secure. The more you explain, argue, and try to convince someone who has already decided to disrespect you, the more power you hand over to them. Instead of standing confidently in your truth, you become trapped in a cycle of seeking validation. Disrespectful people often take advantage of this by continuing to challenge your explanations, forcing you into a never-ending attempt to prove your worth. Confident individuals understand that not every accusation deserves a response, and not every opinion requires correction. They recognize that their value is not determined by what another person thinks about them. If clarification is necessary, they provide it briefly and clearly. After that, they move forward without feeling the need to continue defending themselves. This approach demonstrates emotional security because it shows that they trust their own judgment and do not rely on external approval for confidence. Refusing to over-defend yourself also helps maintain control of the conversation. When someone attacks your character or decisions, they often expect you to become defensive. They expect lengthy explanations, emotional reactions, and attempts to justify every choice. By calmly stating your position and refusing to engage in unnecessary debate, you remove the conflict they were hoping to create. The conversation loses its emotional fuel, and the other person is left without the reaction they expected. Another important benefit of this response is that it preserves your energy. Constantly trying to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding you can be exhausting. Not everyone is interested in hearing the truth. Some people simply want to criticize, judge, or create conflict. Recognizing this reality allows you to choose where your energy is best invested. Instead of wasting time defending yourself to those who have already made up their minds, you can focus on your goals, values, and personal growth. People often respect those who are comfortable with themselves. When you stop seeking permission to be who you are and stop feeling obligated to justify every decision, you project quiet confidence. That confidence speaks louder than any lengthy defense ever could. The fifth response that makes people regret disrespecting you is walking away. Many people view walking away as a sign of weakness, surrender, or defeat, but in reality, it is often one of the strongest decisions a person can make. True strength is not measured by how long you can stay in a toxic argument or how fiercely you can fight for the last word. It is measured by your ability to recognize when a situation no longer deserves your time, energy, or attention. When someone disrespects you, your natural instinct may be to defend yourself, prove them wrong, or make them understand your perspective. While there are situations where standing your ground is important, there are also moments when continuing the interaction only creates more negativity. Some people are not interested in having a productive conversation. They may be seeking conflict, attention, or emotional control. In these cases, remaining engaged often gives them exactly what they want. Walking away changes the entire dynamic. Instead of allowing the other person to dictate the direction of the interaction, you take control by deciding that your peace matters more than the argument. This does not mean you are avoiding the issue because you are afraid. It means you are choosing wisdom over emotional impulse. You are recognizing that not every challenge deserves a response, and not every disrespectful comment deserves a battle. One reason this response is so powerful is that attention is valuable. Many people underestimate how much influence they gain from receiving your focus and emotional investment. When someone tries to provoke you, and you continue arguing, they remain at the center of your attention. When you calmly walk away, that attention disappears. The person is left without the reaction they expected, and they often realize they no longer have control over the situation. Walking away also demonstrates emotional maturity. It shows that you are capable of managing your emotions even when provoked. Rather than reacting impulsively, you make a conscious decision to protect your mental and emotional well-being. This level of self-control is often admired because it reflects confidence and inner strength. Another important aspect of walking away is self-respect. Your time and energy are limited resources. Every moment spent in unnecessary conflict is a moment that cannot be invested in personal growth, meaningful relationships, or productive goals. By removing yourself from situations that consistently involve disrespect, you send a clear message that your standards are higher than the behavior being directed toward you. People may not always admit it, but many come to respect those who know when to leave rather than remain trapped in unproductive conflict. The sixth response that makes people regret disrespecting you is continuing to succeed. Among all the possible reactions to disrespect, this is often the most powerful because it focuses your energy on growth rather than conflict. When someone insults you, doubts your abilities, underestimates your potential, or treats you as if you are incapable of achieving something meaningful, it is tempting to spend your time trying to prove them wrong through arguments and explanations. However, true success rarely comes from convincing people with words. It comes from demonstrating your value through consistent action and achievement. Many people become trapped by the opinions of others. They replay negative comments in their minds, become discouraged by criticism, or devote enormous effort to seeking approval from those who do not respect them. This often leads to frustration, because no matter how much they explain themselves, some people remain committed to their negative judgments. Successful individuals understand a different principle. They realize that their future is too important to be controlled by someone else's opinion. Continuing to succeed means refusing to allow disrespect to become a distraction. Instead of focusing on the person who doubted you, you focus on improving your skills, expanding your knowledge, strengthening your character, and pursuing your goals. Every hour spent growing is an investment in your future, while every hour spent arguing is often an investment in someone else's negativity. This shift in focus creates a tremendous advantage because your energy is directed toward progress rather than resentment. Success also changes how people perceive you over time. Those who once dismissed your abilities may eventually witness accomplishments they never expected. The person who laughed at your ambitions may later admire your determination. The individual who underestimated your potential may realize that their judgment was wrong. While these reactions should never become your primary motivation, they often occur naturally when you remain committed to personal growth. Another reason this response is so effective is that it protects your emotional well-being. Holding on to anger can become exhausting. It keeps you connected to negative experiences and prevents you from moving forward. By choosing success as your response, you transform disappointment into motivation. You use criticism as fuel rather than allowing it to become a burden. People often forget arguments, but they remember results. They remember the person who continued working while others complained. They remember the individual who remained focused despite criticism. They remember the person who achieved meaningful goals without seeking revenge or validation. Long-term success has a way of speaking for itself because accomplishments provide evidence that no argument can easily challenge. And consistent growth often becomes the strongest answer to those who once showed disrespect. The seventh response that can make people regret disrespecting you is the power of silence. In a world where most people feel compelled to react immediately, defend themselves, or respond to every criticism, silence can be surprisingly powerful. When used intentionally, it communicates confidence, emotional control, and self-respect. It shows that you are not easily provoked and that you do not feel obligated to engage with every negative comment directed toward you. Many people who act disrespectfully are looking for a reaction. They may want attention, conflict, validation, or a sense of control. They expect their words to trigger anger, frustration, or defensiveness. When that reaction does not come, the situation often changes dramatically. Instead of gaining power over your emotions, they are left facing the consequences of their own behavior. Silence removes the reward they were hoping to receive. This does not mean remaining silent because you are afraid to speak. There is a significant difference between fearful silence and intentional silence. Fearful silence comes from insecurity and the inability to express yourself. Intentional silence comes from strength and the awareness that not every situation deserves your response. It is a conscious choice rather than a forced reaction. Silence also creates space for reflection. In heated moments, people often say things they later regret. By choosing not to respond immediately, you give yourself time to process what was said and decide whether a response is even necessary. This prevents emotional decisions and helps you maintain control of the situation. While others may be acting impulsively, you remain composed and thoughtful. Another reason silence is effective is that it often makes people uncomfortable. When someone expects an argument and receives none, they are forced to sit with their own words. They may begin questioning their behavior, reconsidering what they said, or realizing how inappropriate their actions were. Sometimes silence highlights disrespect more effectively than any comeback ever could. Confident individuals understand that their worth does not need to be defended at every opportunity. They know that responding to every insult can lower them into unnecessary conflict. By remaining silent when appropriate, they protect their energy, maintain their dignity, and avoid becoming trapped in unproductive exchanges. The ability to stay silent in the face of disrespect is often a sign of inner strength because it demonstrates that your emotions are guided by your choices rather than by the actions of others. The eighth response that can make people regret disrespecting you is maintaining unwavering self-respect. While many people focus on changing the behavior of others, truly powerful individuals focus on how they view themselves. Self-respect is the foundation of confidence, emotional strength, and personal dignity. Without it, even the smallest criticism can feel devastating. With it, disrespect loses much of its ability to affect you because your sense of worth comes from within, rather than from the opinions of others. When someone disrespects you, there is often a temptation to seek validation. You may want them to acknowledge your value, recognize your achievements, or admit that they treated you unfairly. While these desires are understandable, relying on others for validation can place your confidence in their hands. Self-respect works differently. It means recognizing your own worth, regardless of whether others choose to see it. It is the ability to stand firmly in your values and character, even when faced with criticism, rejection, or unfair treatment. People with strong self-respect do not tolerate behavior that consistently undermines their dignity. They understand that respect begins with how they treat themselves. If they continually accept mistreatment, ignore their own boundaries, or compromise their values to gain approval, they weaken their sense of self. On the other hand, when they honor their principles and refuse to settle for less than they deserve, they strengthen their confidence and resilience. Maintaining self-respect also influences how others perceive you. People naturally observe the standards you set for yourself. If you constantly seek approval, tolerate disrespect, or allow others to dictate your worth, some individuals may continue taking advantage of that behavior. When you carry yourself with confidence and self-respect, however, you communicate that you value yourself and expect to be treated accordingly. This often leads others to adjust their behavior because they recognize that you are not easily manipulated or diminished. Another important aspect of self-respect is consistency. It is easy to feel confident when everything is going well, but true self-respect remains steady during challenges. It remains intact when someone criticizes you, misunderstands you, or questions your abilities. Rather than becoming consumed by negative opinions, you stay connected to your values, goals, and identity. The most powerful effect of self-respect is that it changes your relationship with disrespect itself. Instead of seeing it as a threat to your worth, you begin to see it as a reflection of the other person's choices and character. This perspective allows you to remain grounded, confident, and focused on what truly matters. The ninth response that can make people regret disrespecting you is refusing to take disrespect personally. This may sound difficult at first because disrespectful words and actions often feel deeply personal. When someone criticizes, insults, dismisses, or undermines you, the natural reaction is to believe that their behavior is a direct reflection of your value. However, emotionally strong people understand an important truth. The way others treat you often reveals far more about them than it does about you. Every person views the world through the lens of their own experiences,